The question of whether carbon dioxide is a pollutant depends on whether you look at the problem from a living or an undead perspective. From the point of view of living things, the carbon dioxide level is considerably lower than what would be best for growing plants and for supporting life on Earth. In fact, it's about 1/20th of the maximum levels that carbon dioxide was when life was exploding and really making progress, diversifying into the forms that would become the ones that we know today. That was about 400 or 500 million years ago in the Ordovician and Cambrian periods. There was an enormous amount of carbon dioxide around then, and there were very high ocean levels as well, and life did wonderfully. So whether you consider something to be a pollutant depends on whether it's in oversupply. A pollutant is usually what would normally be beneficial, but there's too much of it around, eventually to the point where it becomes toxic. From life's point of view, carbon dioxide is nowhere near that level. From an undead entity's point of view, it may be the opposite, particularly for a government or an oil company. The thing that threatens an oil company is oversupply of its product. If you start producing too much oil, you drive down the price and you can't make as much of a profit. But there's an additional problem for oil companies in that carbon compounds are a means of storing energy and making it available. And if your waste product from burning oil or natural gas is in part carbon dioxide, that can go out and be reincorporated by plants and used to store energy again, turned into things like wood and natural gas, and people can tap into those sources on the surface of the earth rather than relying on the oil company to produce them from underneath the earth. So as an oil company, you're always in danger of overproducing and putting yourself out of business by making too much of your own product, or a waste material that can then be turned into your own product without you being the one who supplies it. From the point of view of oil companies, carbon dioxide can be considered a pollutant because it's dangerous to the scarcity of their product. All life is carbon-based, and carbon dioxide is the means by which carbon is distributed. Governments also seek to control the means of distribution. One way a government or an oil company can deal with potential abundance that would threaten their power would be by pumping carbon dioxide back into the ground, treating it as if it's toxic waste, but also using it for the continuance of the oil company's operations, because carbon dioxide has long been considered as a possible means of getting secondary oil recovery. Putting gas into the reservoir to force more oil or natural gas out. But that method has been uneconomic. By pursuing it, you essentially create a vampire oil company, something that does the opposite task for which it was originally created, putting energy into the ground instead of taking it out. So in order to use carbon dioxide to improve the recovery of hydrocarbons under the ground, from the vampiric perspective, you need somebody else to foot the bill for you. And that's the way things are presently progressing in Alberta. You'd think that in an energy-friendly province, government and industry would say that it's terrible to be putting valuable carbon compounds back into the ground. But in fact, it's the opposite. The Alberta government, possibly with oil industry support, is actually advertising right now that there should be these schemes to pump carbon dioxide back into the ground, which in terms of people's general wealth and the productivity of the planet is a completely foolish thing to do.